Welcome to Budget Beauty, where I help you look flawless for less. Welcome back, and a very special welcome if you're new here. My name is Jen, and this is Budget Beauty. We do everything beauty on a budget, and that includes testing new makeup releases. I do a new makeup releases video every Saturday where we talk about everything being released in the makeup world. I let you know what do I want to pick up, what do I want to pass on, and then I ask for your feedback and for you to let me know if there are certain collections that you want to see. Now, we were in complete agreement for today's video. I wanted this palette and the highlighter, and you wanted to see this palette in the highlighter. And I'm talking about the brand new Too Faced Cosmic Crush eyeshadow palette and the new highlighter. Now, they actually came out with two highlighters. I picked the shade that I feel is best matched for my skin tone. So we are going to create an eye look, test out the highlighter. So if you're excited, give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not, turn your bell on so you never miss a video. Like I said, we do new makeup every Saturday, and I upload lots and lots of new content every week. I actually do quite a few makeup tutorials, so definitely subscribe and turn your bell on. I will link the entire Too Faced Cosmic Crush collection down below for you, as well as my favorite beauty subscription boxes, all of the other makeup that I'm wearing in today's video if you would like to recreate this look. And of course, come follow me on TikTok for a little bit more beauty on a budget. So before we start today's eye look, let's chat about the new palette. So again, this is the Too Faced Cosmic Crush palette. I love the packaging. It is so pretty with the pink and the blue and that starry night sky. There is a mirror in the palette, and we have interesting pan shapes. This is something Too Faced does sometimes, is rectangle and square pans. We have a pretty even mix of mattes and shimmers, and I'll tell you that there are some really beautiful shimmers in this palette. Now, right off the bat with swatching, I noticed that these aren't indie shimmers. These aren't even indie mattes. Some of the mattes I had to go into a few times with my finger to get a good swatch, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not good quality mattes, because how they swatch and how they apply on the eyes is very different. The shimmers, for the most part, were really pretty, especially this really fun kind of green-blue duochrome, which is something new for Too Faced. We don't see a lot of duochromes in mainstream brands. Up until recently, it seems like more are doing that, which is really exciting. But overall, I really liked the color story of this palette. It is very much a neutral palette, but we have pops of purple, pops of pink. We have some deep, dark black and gray shades. So I am really excited to apply this to my eyes and see if this is the good Too Faced formula of the Italian Spritz palette that I tested here on my channel and love. And then I had to pick up one of the Moon Crush highlighters. Now, like I said, I picked the one up that I felt was the best match for my skin tone. This is kind of an icy white with a little bit of a light pink undertone. The packaging is so nice. I love the light pink packaging with the gold accents. It does have Moon Crush embossed on the palette, which I think is a really nice touch. And this was buttery soft when I swatched it. Really buttery soft, very shifty, very beautiful. And you know I love a good in-your-face seen from space highlight, so I'm hoping that this one gives me that. So let me go ahead and zoom you on in, and let's start creating our eye look. So I went ahead and primed my eyes with my MAC Paint Pot and Painterly, tap that out, make sure there's no creasing, and I'm ready to dig in to the palette. Now, I was debating, do I want to do a more neutral look? Do I want to do a more colorful look? And I think what we're going to do, because I know a lot of you love a good neutral look, is I'm going to do a neutral look with a pop of color, which is something that I really love. You guys know I always say that I like neutral palettes that have different textures or a pop of color, and that's exactly what this palette from Too Faced is. So I'm going to start with this neutral brown shade here called Big Bang. I'm going to pick that up with the fluffy brush and use that as a transition shade. And like I said, I want to go with a neutral base, but then pop in some color with the shimmer and on the lower lash line. That's kind of one of my favorite things to do, is to actually do a neutral look with a twist, which is right up my alley. I am definitely more of a colorful shadow lover. So whenever I do something neutral, I like to add a little Jen spin, a little Jen twist to it. Now this shade Big Bang looks beautiful. It applied beautifully, blended out really easily, which I appreciate. And I am able to layer that up as well, which is exactly what we would expect from shadow. That's really pretty. I really, really like that. Definitely neutral, which is what I was going for that transition. Now I'm gonna test out this gray matte Blast Off. Now this one was one of the ones that I had to dip into a few times to get it to really give me some true opacity on the swatch. So I'm going to pick that up with a little bit more dense, fluffy brush. And that shade actually has a pan embossing, which again, I think is a really, really nice touch. And I'm going to put that right in my crease, leaving that brown transition shade kind of popping out. I'm just using this to add a little bit of depth to my crease. So that was one tap in. I definitely have opacity. It layered beautifully over my transition shade. So this is one of those examples of it may not swatch the best, but when you apply it to the eye, it's actually really beautiful. And again, this layered really nicely and there is no patchiness. Looking at the pan in the light a little bit closer, it looks like there is a little bit of sparkle in this shade, but I don't really see that translating on the eye. So it's one of those kind of mattes with sparkle, but the sparkle doesn't really come through, which is fine. I like a good sparkle matte. It doesn't really matter to me either way, but I appreciate that we don't have a lot of sparkle so that we can utilize this as a solid matte in the palette. And then picking up a little more Big Bang on that first big fluffy brush, I'm going to blend out the crease and just make sure everything is blended out seamlessly. Now to deepen up the outer corner, I'm going to pick up this deep, darkest brown shade in the palette called Superstar, and I'm going to focus that on the outer corner, and that I'm going to use for depth. Now there is a black matte in here with sparkle as well. I debated on that, but I wanted to see if I was able to get depth out of this brown and not be committed to always using the black for depth. And this is, again, applying really, really nicely and is 100% giving me all the depth that I was looking for. So that makes this palette much more versatile in my opinion, that I'm not limited to having to use the black with sparkle to deepen up a look. So as always, I'm going to use my NYX Glitter Primer. I like to use that on my lid when I apply shimmer. I feel like it keeps the shimmer in place all day and really, like I always say, gives me the true depth of the shimmer. I feel like I get the biggest payoff and it really helps me test out a shimmer more accurately. Like I said, this shimmer shade Hypernova right here, this shifty to green to blue. Looking at it in the camera, it's teal, but when I'm looking at it on the side, it's like a deep navy blue. I definitely want to use this on my lid. That's going to give us that little pop of color that I was wanting in my look. I am going to go ahead and pick that up on my finger. Look at how pretty that is. I mean, that is really, really beautiful. I'm going to apply one shimmer with my finger, one with a brush so we can test out application. And this, I'm going to focus on the outer 2/3 of my lid, reserving the outer corner, so keeping that deep and dark with the deep brown shade. This is stunning. Oh my goodness, is she pretty? Look at that. That is so pretty. I'm able to build it up by just tapping back into the shade Hypernova. One more time with my finger. I'm getting quite a bit of opacity, quite a bit of sparkle, and this shade is so pretty. It's definitely a duochrome, which like I said, I'm excited to see in a mainstream makeup brand. And I'm going to pick up the shimmer shade Twinkle Twinkle, which is kind of a brownie taupe shimmer. It looks really pretty. And I'm going to pop that on the inner corner and then blend that over with Hypernova. Okay, that's very, very pretty. That is a perfect neutral shimmer shade. So I did want to kind of keep the neutral vibe. And like I said, just put Hypernova as a pop of color. And that applied really nicely with a brush. So these shimmers are perfection with a brush or with a finger. I'm going to go back into that deep dark brown shade called Superstar, and I'm going to buff that on my lower lash line. That was that same deep brown that we used to deepen up our outer corner. And then back into Blast Off, which is the gray. I'm going to buff that on my lower lash line as well, just kind of diffusing it out, making it more of that messy lower lash line. And then for inner corner highlight, I'm using the Silver Moon Glow. That swatched beautifully. I love a good silver. And picking that up on a brush, I'm going to tap that on my inner corner. Whoa. That is so pretty. I love that silver. That silver shade is stunning. So here is the completed look. Let me go ahead and do a liner and mascara, and I'll be back to do highlight. And I'll come back and we'll do our highlighter together. So I've added liquid liner and mascara, and I did add the Moira multi-chrome liner to my waterline. Again, everything will be linked down below. And just a little bit of a spoiler alert, this eye look, I'm living for it. I love that it's neutral, and that pop of green is so fun on the lid. I got a lot to say about the Cosmic Crush palette, but before I go into my final thoughts, let's test out the Moon Crush highlighter. Now, you guys know that I love highlighter. I love a good scene from space highlight. I want it to be reflective and beautiful and really just over the top. That is just the type of highlight that I prefer. So I'm hoping that I get this from this Too Faced highlight. Most of my indie highlights give me that glow, and I'm hoping we can get this from a mainstream brand. Like I said, this swatched absolutely beautifully. So I'm going to pop that. Okay, Too Faced. Sorry, speechless for a moment. Wow, that is beautiful. Okay. All right, Too Faced, I take it back. That mainstream brands don't give you Scene from Space highlight, because this is absolutely beautiful. Wow. Now, again, this is a highlighter that you could go a little bit lighter handed if you don't want it to be so aggressive. Oh, the color though, I mean, it's so pretty. That is so beautiful. This was the perfect choice for a color, and really truly I'm blown away with how beautiful that is. It just melted into the skin. It's not even sitting on top of my skin where it looks like you just have a line of powder. It melted right in. Now, I debated on getting this because for a mainstream highlighter, it's kind of pricey, but I'm impressed with the highlight, more impressed than I thought that I was going to be. Let me go ahead and finish getting ready for the day, and I'll be back to share my final thoughts on the Too Faced Cosmic Crush collection. So I'm ready for the day, and I am back to share my final thoughts on the Too Faced Cosmic Crush collection. So first, let's talk about the eyeshadow palette. I really enjoyed the eyeshadow palette. I feel like this is the really good Too Faced formula. Same one that we found in the Italian Spritz palette, which I love that palette. I've used it several times. I can actually see myself reaching into this a lot because it is a neutral palette with a twist. And this shade right here, Hypernova, that is the star of the show. It is absolutely stunning. I love that there's a gray, there's a black. It's just a really well laid out, well curated palette, and everything applied to the eyes beautifully. Now, of course, I'm going to test out, you know, the pink and mauve shades in the palette as well. But my first impression review of this is it's really, really good. It's that really good Too Faced quality, and I'm really happy that I picked it up. And then the highlighter. I mean, I talked about the highlighter and how impressed I was, and this is another thing that I wavered on picking up, and I'm really glad I decided to because I love this. And this is such a beautiful highlight. I love that it's buildable. If you want to go a little more natural or a little more bold, you have the option to do both. And like I said, the packaging is beautiful. The pan embossing is beautiful. The collection is just really well curated, and the products perform beautifully. So I highly, highly recommend. I did pick mine up off of Ulta's website. I'll link Ulta and I think it's at Ulta and Sephora. I'll link it all down below for you. But if you have been eyeing this palette or you like a neutral palette with a twist, highly, highly recommend. So if you enjoyed, let me know down below, did you pick up the Cosmic Crush palette, or did I sway you to add it to your collection? You will not be disappointed. And if you enjoyed today's video, give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not. Turn your bell on so you never miss a future video. Everything I shared with you today will be linked down below, as well as my favorite beauty subscription boxes, all of the other makeup that I'm wearing today if you would like to recreate this look. And of course, come follow me on TikTok for a little bit more beauty on a budget. I have to say, Too Faced knocked it out of the park again.